Steve Peterson from GCAC Global Cannabis Applications Corp. Today I'm here with George Sullivan, Senior Principal and CEO at Net Zero Analysis and Designs, and Celeste Karan, also from Net Zero. George, thanks for joining us on our call today.
Steve, thanks for having us, and I do appreciate the time today.
No, I'm looking forward to it. And the biggest things that, and just so the audience knows, George's team and GCAC in part working with our new product called clearESG to help companies document really their sustainability achievements using our new tool set. But one of the things that I keep seeing in the news is really this whole issue around a net zero carbon footprint for growers and manufacturers in the cannabis and hemp industries. And, instead of what I want to do is go right to the source. George's company is an expert in this field and wanted to get George's comments on what that journey looks like for our industry. So with that, George.
Steve, thanks. So if you are going to be making claims of net zero, there's a couple of steps you need to have in place, right? Just to be able to think about it. The first one is that you need to have a compliance officer, because the federal government has issued, the Securities and Exchange Commission has issued rules wrapped around making those claims that you're going to have to be compliant with. So, and this could be a sustainability director. We usually work with compliance industries. Obviously the cannabis industry is heavily regulated by states. Maybe not so much by the federal government right now, but soon to be.
Yeah.
Right. And so what we look at is getting that one person and letting them do a little bit of homework. And we'll usually work with somebody at that point. Then we'll pull together a team, because this is actually a company team. So you got to look at manufacturing or processing operations, your grow operations, your retail distribution. How are you handling all of these? And I know that a lot of growers here in Illinois actually are only allowed to distribute in Illinois. They're not allowed to go outside the boundaries of. So how do you move your product? And that's a carbon footprint. How are you growing your product? If you're an indoor grower versus an outdoor grower, you're an indoor grower, and all the growers here in Illinois are indoor. So you're using a lot of electricity. And here in Illinois, that's 520 grams of carbon per kilowatt hour. Are you using renewables, things of that nature? So that's where we start getting into helping companies think through this. And the other thing that we do when we look at what we call measurement and reduction planning is that we also look at possible generation of carbon offsets, so that you can generate carbon offsets within your organization, put them on a UN registry, and then claim those reductions to get rid of the pesky fossil fuel use on your diesel delivery trucks, or however your gasoline or other carbon footprints within your chain, to be able to make that carbon neutrality statement first, right? Because before you can be net zero, you have to be carbon neutral on your operations. And then net zero emissions says that your supply chain is carbon neutral, or that you've measured and offset the carbon footprint of your supply chain. So the grower that is growing and then going through like Leaf Trade, one of the trading platforms, or that would be another carbon footprint. Then the retail shop that you're going into, or pharmacy, that's another carbon footprint. How are you getting your product there? Is it going to a distribution center and then going out? There's all of these questions. So once you get into net zero, it gets pretty complicated, because you're looking at the entire supply chain. So not easy to do, but doable. That's what I would tell you.
So that's tremendous, George. So the benefit to the company, the client, is they get an opportunity to really look at the efficiency of their operation in terms of how they consume the different environmental and packaging, and deal with the earth and et cetera, and deal with the recycling, obviously. But also they get a chance through the carbon offset process, really, which is unique in the industry, to be able to earn additional income or credits from that effort. So that's a huge. What do you see as one of the surprise benefits when you work with a client and go through this process? What do you see as like that big aha that a client will have?
The first one is actually how much carbon they're generating. That's
Hmm.
the big like, whoa, what do you mean? Well, yeah, this is how it works, right? Because we're going to measure your water consumption, we're going to measure your data usage, we're going to measure your electricity, we're going to measure your fossil fuel usage, we're going to measure your land usage. We're going to look at what you're generating in waste, both from your offices and your production facilities, and what you're doing with that, right? And then we're going to just a few examples, and then we're going to take a look at how you can do reductions on those,
Hmm.
right? So what can you do to reduce, and how are you tracking it, and all of the rest of these metrics? So we use ISO 14064 as the audit guide for us. And that is very enlightening. So then you get a big aha moment. Then when we look at each one of those steps, we're looking to see if there's a possibility of generating a carbon offset project if we get several growers together to be able to make it financially viable. So just on the renewable energy side, we've got several clients in industry that use 100% renewable in their facilities, and it's right around 60,000 megawatt hours total that they generate a year, but that generates 99,000 carbon offsets.
Wow.
So that is pretty impressive. And they actually only need out of that 60,000 offsets to make themselves carbon neutral, because we've done the reduction through renewable energy. And then they've got basically 39,000 to sell. And those are selling between $8 and $12, $8 and $14 a piece, depending on what the market is.
Yeah, and
So
that's so groundbreaking, George, for the cannabis and hemp industries. Even that companies have been hesitant to engage in the past because of either costs or really truly not understanding how the carbon offset market even works. And so through net zero analysis and designs, you and your team are able to help them on that journey, right, in terms of delivering that final product and frankly cost savings.
that's true. And we do both. So cost savings is a big piece of what we do when we do audits. And on the carbon offset side, we function as the project proponent. So we're doing all the heavy lifting, all the filing, things of that nature. All the calculations are our intellectual property, and they've all been third party vetted. So everything comes into play, and then we can go ahead and make solid recommendations on this is the cost of a carbon offset. One of our other clients, the cost of generating the carbon offsets are about $1.50 a piece. But when they look at they're wanting to make carbon neutrality claims, if they were to go to the market, it would be $8, $10.
Right.
So it's a huge cost savings on that
Right.
side for them to be
And,
able to make that claim.
And for our audience, so the reason why our two companies are working together is GCAC just recently launched their new product called clearESG.app. And one of the things that clearESG does is it basically takes the evidence that net zero will provide and helps you document that on the blockchain so that you can share it in a way with the consumer about your whole brand story and the way you operate your business. This is really critical because it really helps identify the issue of trust and transparency. And so as we move into this new generation of consumers in the cannabis and the hemp industries, it's really important that people understand who they're working with and what the background of these companies are and their efficacy efforts in all these areas. So this will hopefully prevent greenwashing, which we see way too often in the industry. So,
Oh,
George,
and
for more information, how do they get a hold of you? And we'll also have a slide at the end of this presentation to
well,
help direct.
for more information generally, you can go to our website, which is www.netzeroanalysis.com and info at, or you can email me at GDS at net zero analysis, and that's ZERO spelled out. And I will then turn around and get back to you. We actually have a whole bunch of interesting tools on the website. There's a lot of information and articles. So there's a lot to explore. And Celeste has done a great job with making the website as transparent and user friendly as possible. it just updates every day. And when you mentioned ESG, just that, we're talking about the environmental, then we can get into social and governance reporting
Right.
underneath the SEC requirement. So there's a lot to do.
Very powerful indeed. Well, George, I appreciate, and Celeste, I appreciate you joining us on our call today. And, we're excited about having the opportunity to work with such a great organization and really bring a new level of technology and information to the audience and that will really help them differentiate in this market that's convoluted and that is helping companies really make an impact in their community with their investors and also with their customers. So, George and Celeste, thank you so much, and I appreciate your great efforts and look forward to working with your team.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks for having us.